Hello again and welcome to another video. In this video I'll try to repair two Nokia 7 Plus smartphones. One of them has its screen smashed and this another one has its USB port broken, or that's what I assume to be the case since the phone doesn't charge. Luckily, the USB port is its own part and can be changed easily. I'll demonstrate both of the repairs on this phone that has its LCD cracked for convenience. Either of the repairs, display or USB port repair, begins with taking out the display, since the USB port can be only accessed by taking the display out, and if you're changing the screen you'll need to obviously take it out first. Since this phone has its screen broken anyway, I can use more force to take it out because I don't need to save the screen. But if you're only changing a USB port, you'll need to be very careful when taking the screen off not to damage it. Luckily there's only glue on the edges, and so this screen is one of the easier ones to take off. Once the screen is free, you'll need to be careful not to bend the cable too much and damage it. You'll need to take one screw off to free the flex cable of the screen, and after that I removed all the remaining glass shards so that the new screen can sit properly on the frame. When all the glass and all the black adhesive under it has been removed, there is one flex cable that needs to be detached, and then there's quite a lot of screws that need to be removed to lift the metallic plate of the phone and gain access to the USB port. Once the metallic part is lifted out of the phone, there's one more screw that we need to remove in order to take off the speaker, and after that we can get access to the USB port itself. There's some cables that need to be disconnected, and on the underside there's one screw that needs to be disconnected before disconnecting the flex cable. After that, the USB port is free and can be replaced with the new USB port. There's some rubber pieces that need to be transferred from the old USB port to the new one. After that, the new port can be connected exactly like the old one was, and the screw can be put back there. After that, the remaining cable can be connected, and these cables can be difficult to get back in correctly sometimes. After that, the speaker and the metallic part can be installed back into the phone. And after that, all of the tiny screws need to be put back in. When all these screws are properly in place, it's time to look at the new screen. We can first test the screen by connecting it and powering up the phone without gluing it in first. After checking that the new display worked, both the display and touch worked perfectly, I took the screen out of the phone again and applied some glue in order to permanently install the new screen. I applied glue on the edges and also on the middle, since I don't trust the screen staying in place for long if only applied on the edges. It's important not to apply too much glue near the front camera and microphone parts in order for those parts to work correctly. After connecting the display flex cable, there's this metallic part that holds it down and can be installed back with the screw. After carefully setting the display down on the frame, I checked all the corners so that the display was flush with the frame from all sides and thus installed correctly. After testing that display, touch and front cameras and microphone worked, I applied some rubber bands in order to keep the display on the frame in order for the glue to dry properly. After one day, it was time to take the rubber bands off and test the freshly repaired phone. At the time of making this video, the phone had Android updated to Android 10, so there's no problem with OS updates. The phone is part of the Android 1 program, which usually means that the UI is quite optimized and smooth, and updates should be provided for it for a little bit longer than the usual Android mid-ranger phone. Both of these seem to be true with this phone, and it's still a great phone to use in 2021. PUBG Mobile and Call of Duty Mobile both run great on this phone, but Fortnite didn't run well enough to be considered playable. So this time I managed to fix 2 out of 2 phones, and it turns out that the Nokia 7 Plus is still very much worth it to repair in 2021. Both of the USB port and the LCD screen repair are not too difficult to pull off or too expensive, although the USB port repair, while being cheaper, can be a bit harder since the working screen needs to be taken out of the phone intact. Because of that, I decided to include some footage here from the other phone that had working screen. On the intact screen, suction cups and heat seemed to work better than plastic prying tools. With the suction cup method, it's important not to pull on the screen too hard, and it works better when you pull from a corner. And if the screen doesn't budge, add more heat with a heat gun. Also, with a working screen, it's important not to bring the heat gun too close to the screen, or it might damage the screen. Once an entry gap had been created with the suction cup, I continued with the plastic prying tools and applied some heat as I carefully worked around the screen with the prying tools. Another thing that you need to do if you are reinstalling a screen that you took out of the phone is that you need to remove all the old adhesive from the screen before you glue it down on the frame.